In the Beginning by Dr. Walt Brown, available in a flipbook form at hpt.rsr.org. Now, page 240, we'll take a look at the Petrified Forest. It's Mesas, Buttes, and Spires, but the Petrified Forest. Probably the world's largest concentration of petrified wood is in the Petrified Forest National Park in Arizona. Few people realize that this park lies inside the basin that held Hopi Lake. Why would wood petrify? How were these unusual conditions met so abundantly in Hopi Lake? Many people have made the mistaken impression that petrification of wood requires millions of years. No. Researchers have duplicated petrification in laboratories. Wood petrifies when 1. Mineral-rich water saturates the wood, and 2. Some of those dissolved minerals precipitate into the tiniest voids in the wood's cell. Usually the water is rich in silica, which forms quartz when it comes out of solution. The solubility of quartz in water increases enormously as the water temperature rises. Conversely, as the water cools, silica is forced out of a saturated solution and becomes quartz. Today, a log floating in a lake will not petrify, but will eventually disintegrate. To petrify a log, water containing dissolved silica or other minerals must saturate the log, and those minerals must come out of solution before the log disintegrates. Some petrified wood shows intricate cellular detail, indicating rapid petrification before the wood had time to decay. Silica comes out of a saturated solution that cools, but today's lakes are already cool, so they contain little dissolved silica. How then did petrification occur? Consider the extremely hot, high-pressure water in the subterranean chambers before the flood. See page 137 on supercritical water. The chamber's roof and pillars were granite. About 27% of granite's volume is quartz. Quartz in contact with hot, high-pressure water quickly dissolves. Although the temperature of the supercritical water drops rapidly as they rose, expanded, and spilled onto the earth, those flood waters supersaturated with silica were still warm. Therefore, large floating logs in post-flood lakes could easily petrify as temperatures dropped. That occurred in the former Hopi Lake, as seen in today's Petrified Forest National Park. Okay, although the temperature of the supercritical water drops rapidly as they rose, expanded, and spilled onto the earth, those flood waters supersaturated with silica were still warm. Okay, finally notice in figure 121 on page 224 that Petrified National Forest. Okay, let's take a look at that. Notice that in figure 121 on page 224 that the Petrified Forest National Park lies in the southeast end of Hopi Lake and Hopi Lakes Basin. Let's check that out. Where does that? Oh, there it is. Oops. Go back. Pilot error. Okay, now I can zoom in on it. Okay, there's Grand Canyon. So there's Grand Lake way up there. Canyon de Chelly, we talked about that. Hopi Lake. Oh yeah, where's Monument Valley? Right here, Monument Valley. Okay. Right there, and there's Hopi Lake with the Petrified National Forest inside of Hopi Lake. And there's Red Butte also. Okay, let's go to what, 241 maybe? Petrified Forest, there we are. Okay. Okay. Notice finally in figure 121 that the Petrified Forest National Park lies in the southeastern end of Hopi Lake's basin, where prevailing winds, which are from the west, would have driven floating logs. Also, petrified logs lying on the bottom at the east end of the lake would be least disturbed by all the water spilling out of the west end. This accounts for the high concentration of petrified wood in the most famous petrified forest. Grand Lakes Basin also contains Utah's Escalante Petrified Forest and petrified wood along the Green River. Some petrified wood was swept out of Grand Lake. For example, between the points where Grand Lake breached and Hopi Lake breached is Shinumo Altar, a 500-foot high butte capped by hard rock. Petrified wood is scattered over its flat top. Nearby residents reported that petrified logs 7 to 10 feet long were once on the butte, but a helicopter removed them in about 1999. As Grand Lake's water spilled toward Hopi Lake, petrified wood lying on the bottom of the lake was swept onto flat ground that became the top of Shinumo Altar. Page 138. Oh, I suppose let's take a look at that. There's 138. Let's read about this. Here we go. Petrified wood on a butte, Shinumo Altar. Obviously, tons of petrified wood did not wash up onto the top of this 500-foot high butte, nor is there reason to believe that a major lake with silica-rich water and floating logs was once on the very flat top of this butte. Instead, water from the breaching Grand Lake, 11 miles to the north, transported petrified logs to this spot, and then the material around the butte was removed. About 17 miles to the south, the escaping water undercut the northwest corner of Hopi Lake. Surging waters from both lakes rapidly carved Grand Canyon. Broken logs in Arizona's Petrified Forest. For a log to snap this cleanly, it must be brittle, as a petrified log would be. To petrify, a log must be saturated with a silica-rich solution, probably in a lake. Then the silica must come out of solution, which requires the water to cool. A petrifying log, as its grains and added weight of these minerals would settle gently onto the lake's floor and not break. Because this log broke into many similar lengths, but reoriented pieces, the entire petrified log probably received a powerful impact. How? Why would a heavy petrified log lying on a lake floor break into many randomly oriented pieces? However, if the boundary of a lake breached, as in the collapse of a dam, the water would rush out in a torrent, carrying even sunken petrified logs for some distance. A rapidly moving, brittle petrified log crashing back onto the lake bottom would break up, much as an aircraft crashing in a field. As Grand Lake's waters spilled, they removed the bomb by helicopter by 1988. As Grand Lake's waters spilled toward Hopi Lake, petrified wood lying on the bottom of Grand Lake was swept onto flat ground that became the top of Shinumo Altar. See figure 138. Okay, and on page 224. Days or weeks later, the butte formed as the cascading water stripped off 500 feet of the surrounding softer Mesozoic rocks, not protected by a hard cap. I found pieces of petrified wood scattered in Hopi Lake's basin. Petrified trees. by Dr. Walt. This is In the Beginning by Dr. Walt Brown. Flipbook is available for free at hpt.rsr.org. That's hpt.rsr.org.